If you follow me on my second channel, you may know that I have had some problems with my chisels of late, so I splashed out and bought a Japanese chisel to try and get around some of those issues. In this video, I'll go through the steps of setting up a Japanese chisel as they vary a little bit from Western style chisels. Two disclaimers before we get started. I am what you'd describe as painfully white or noticeably white, so if I get the pronunciation of a lot of the terms for Japanese tools in general wrong, I apologise, I'm not meaning to offend. Secondly, I picked this chisel and a bunch of saws up from Pro Tooling. Not a sponsored video, I paid full price for all of these. Very happy with customer service, they were very quick to respond to a bunch of emails and they were very helpful. I did manage to get a discount code to share, Wood Night, for 5% off if you like. I don't get any kickbacks on it, so I don't care whether you order or not, but should you want to, 5% off is better than nothing. I guess before we start working on it, we should talk about what type of chisel this is. This is a Kanetomo Shirogami Orinomi. So it's Kanetomo is the brand, Shirogami means white paper steel, and Orinomi is bench chisel. This happens to be a 12mm one, and it has a red oak handle. That's a Japanese red oak, not the American or European red oak. It has very different mechanical properties. The first step is to take off the sticker. I'm not too worried about all that goop because I will be stripping the lacquer off the tip of the chisel and off the handle as well, so I'll get to that then. The next step is to set the hoop, so first we need to take that off. There are lots of ways to take the hoop off. By no means is this the only or the correct way to do it, but this is pretty easy. I've got an adjustable wrench clamped to my workbench. It's adjusted so it's loose on the chisel, it'll swing freely, but it will take the hoop off, or it engages the hoop. This way I'm not going to damage the chisel handle. With one hand I'll hold a dowel that will knock the chisel handle out, and with that same hand I'll hold the chisel handle so it doesn't fall down and break. And I'm just going to hammer that out. So with the hoop off we can inspect it. This one's actually pretty good. We're looking for any burrs on the inside here. We don't want to cut into the wood when we set the hoop. We just want to have it fit on with friction. So if you do have any burrs on the inside, just take your needle file to it and smooth it out like that. Now we want to slide the hoop down a little bit further. We want about 1 to 2 mil of timber sticking out. So there are a couple of ways to do it. First is you can take some sandpaper, a chisel or a rasp and remove some wood. But the more recommended way is to compress the wood fibres on the end using a hammer. And that's the method I'm going to go for. So what I'm going to do is just tap, rotating the hammer until those wood fibres compress, and then we can get the hoop on. Do take note that the hoop only goes one way. The tapered side goes down. I've already done a little bit of work and that is seating a little bit nicer, but we still have a fair way to go. So the hoop now fits on pretty well. I need to just seat that fully and more permanently. So I've got a little block with the outside diameter, or slightly larger than the outside diameter of the handle itself. So I can place that in, give it a few taps, and it'll be locked in place pretty well. Now to really lock that in, we need to expand the fibres of the wood again. So I've got some hot water, and I'm just going to let this soak in there for 10 to 15 minutes. Then we can mushroom over the end of the chisel, and that'll lock the hoop in permanently. So the oil on the handle is dry, so now I can get to sharpening it just like you would with any other chisel. However, first we should talk about the steel. Japanese chisels are a little bit different because they are made from laminated steel. That is, they have a harder steel underneath and a softer steel on top. Relatively speaking, it's a simple steel compared to something like Veritas's PMV11, in that it's a very, very hard steel with excellent sharpness, but it doesn't have amazing edge retention. So the solution for that is having a softer backer steel that will absorb some of the force in blows and prevent some of the edge damage. So with that in mind, Japanese chisels are typically not hollow ground. So you won't take these to a grinder of any sort because you need a flat bevel, and you also don't have a micro bevel. The other thing that's a little different from Japanese chisels compared to Western chisels is they have a hollow on the back. Now, sometimes Western chisels have that, whether they mean to or not, but the one on the Japanese chisels is deliberate. Because the cutting steel is much harder, it can be much harder to sharpen, so that hollow allows you to sharpen it a lot easier. Just like a Western chisel, we do need to flatten the back, otherwise we'll never get a proper sharp edge. You can see I've put some purple Sharpie to indicate where I want to flatten, and here is that hollow that I was talking about. I've got some 320 PSA sandpaper on a glass plate with a bit of water. I'm using quite a coarse grit to get through this quickly because, as I said, this is quite hard steel. With that, my chisel is sharp and ready to go. There is no further work that needs to be done other than maybe another coat of finish on it, some oil. A few things that I forgot to mention. The reason for stripping the lacquer is that it's just a little bit shiny and a bit slippery in hand, so something that's not quite as slippery makes for a better chisel experience. We're not getting rid of the hollow at the back, we're just flattening an area behind the cutting edge a few millimeters, and that hollow will move down as the chisel gets sharpened over time. I sharpened this with my 1000 6000 grit Waterstone, and I found I get more benefit going to 8000 with the Japanese chisel than I do with my cheap CRV chisel. I suspect it's because the CRV chisel can't hold perhaps as keen an edge, so it doesn't really gain any benefit from being those high grits. And again, I found by using some diamond lapping paste that I got even better results, whereas again, with the CRV chisels, I don't really get a huge benefit from it. Due to the shorter nature of these chisels and the hand-forged nature of these chisels, they don't work quite as well in the Veritas jig, but some side clamping jigs like the Lee Nielsen one or the Cal honing jig may work a bit better. Of course, you can go freehand with these chisels, and that's how they are traditionally done. Just, I'm terrible with freehand sharpening, so I'm going to try and use honing guides as a bit of a crutch for now. You can use whatever sharpening medium you like, whether it's diamond stones, water stones, scary sharps, or using sandpaper, but whatever you like will work. Are these chisels amazing? I've got no idea. I've just finished sharpening it, and it feels good in hand. It takes a very keen edge, more so than my cheaper chisels. It pairs end grain of softwood, and I'll find out over time whether they're any good. If you're thinking about getting into Japanese chisels, hopefully this guide has been somewhat helpful. Thanks for watching.